Hello, everyone. It is Friday. This is Steph Lee, the founder of Host Agency Reviews, and you are tuning in for the Friday 15, where every Friday, 12 p.m. Central Time, we answer your industry questions. And today we have on Heather Kindred with Nexion. Hello, Heather.
Well, hello, Steph, and I want to be where you are today on your porch in your hammock.
You are more than welcome to come have some lemonade with me. We can chat business, life, dogs, all sorts of stuff.
That sounds awesome.
Heather and I were comparing each other's treat pouches and bags we have next to us for in case our dogs start barking during the conversation.
Oh,
it's pretty awesome.
Work friends.
Yeah. Well, let's jump in. Okay, so we have a couple announcements to make. First, our Host Suite call for speakers is open and it is closing in about roughly 10 days. So the end of September, and we would love for you to apply, whether you're an experienced advisor, whether you're an experienced speaker or brand new to it and are trying something out. Check it out. We're going to put the link in the show notes for you, but it's a great way to, number one, test your chops, and it can be pre-recorded for those that are like crazy nervous about doing it live. It can be pre-recorded, but it's a great way to get yourself out in front of advisors and share like this wonderful knowledge you have inside of you. So other things, we have 2 webinars coming up if you want to check them out on the events calendar. We have one on closing the deal, how to get more clients to book with you, and then 5 things to prepare for every discovery call. This is a long one. 5 things to prepare every discovery call to establish your expertise and secure new business.
Oh, good topic.
Yeah, long and good. So let's get into our questions for today, Heather. We have our first one from Anonymous. Anonymous is saying, what is defined as a FAM? Would I be able to describe it as a business trip on my tax filings? Do I have to have any official reports, etc., to do that? So Heather, what are your thoughts on FAM trips?
Well, first of all, I always have to mention that we in the travel industry love to shorten every word or turn acronyms into words. So FAM is actually short for familiarization trip, which is sort of self-explanatory. If you haven't been on one or need more information, I highly recommend that you read Steph's blog article on the topic in her blog section on Host Agency Reviews. A FAM is typically a work trip. The whole point of it and the intention is to learn about a brand and a destination. And the expectation is that you're going to take that trip and it's going to result in business not only for the brand and the destination, but also for your own business to grow your own travel industry as you're going to become more familiar with something, hence the word FAM trip. In terms of tax deduction, it's definitely a business trip, but I would always say talk to your tax accountant and find out what qualifies it to be a tax deductible option and what documentation that you need and that you'll keep in order to be prepared for that.
That's a great point. Let me see. I'm going to share my screen really quick because Heather mentioned we have that article on FAM trips, which is a great way that talks about how you can get invited on them, where you can find them, what's expected of you when you're on there, as well as etiquette, which is incredibly important. But we actually have an article too on travel expenses. So if you go into the search bar up on the expenses, on the top of the site and type in travel expenses, it'll pull up that article, and it's a very in-depth article. You're going to want to check with your tax accountant anyhow, but it talks about what you can and can't write off. And like, say you go on a FAM trip and you do 2 days after, that's more leisure and casually, but you do 1 hotel inspection. Can you write off that 4th and 5th day because of that? Mm-hmm. So we cover all of this information in here. There's a tax organizer in here that's really helpful. So check that out. It's a lot to go over on the call, but there's a couple neat, or I shouldn't say neat, but there's like a really, when we were writing it, you know, sometimes we just go down the rabbit hole, and we were looking at the IRS's requirements or different things for write-offs. And there was like a specific one on cruises, which was kind of interesting, which I hadn't realized. But a lot of times with cruises, like according to the IRS, it says you can deduct up to $2,000 per year of your expenses of attending conventions, seminars, or similar meetings held on cruise ships. All ships that sail are considered cruise ships. So it's kind of limited to $2,000. And then there's some other meetings that need to be other criteria that need to be met. And one of them is going to pretty much make it so you can't technically write off cruises. And that's that the cruise ship vessel is registered in the United States, which is not common. Yeah, isn't it crazy?
That's really, I learned something new today.
Well, you know, when you dig into the IRS and all their regulations, you find the craziest stuff.
That's
So
great intel.
yeah, check that out. And having said that, I will say that I don't think there's ever been someone that tried to write off a cruise ship where the IRS person was like, nope, according to subsection ABC.55, you're not able to do that. So
That's awesome.
check that out. Great things. So we'll link to those. And we'll also link, because with fam trips, even if you're not able to go on fam trips, because typically there's going to be some kind of a sales threshold you need to go on one. There's also, if you can access travel agent rates, it means you're having to have usually sold $5,000 in commissions during a 12-month period. But we'll link to our article with over 200 travel agent rates. And that you can go do property inspections, check out the resorts and not have it be a formal fam trip. Let's see. Three other resources I want to mention. If you are doing those site inspections and cruise ship inspections, we'll link to our sheets. They're PDFs that you can print out that can help you, if you're newer, to write down the information that might be important for you, for your clients. And then Stephanie Cannon, are you familiar with her at all, Heather?
I don't think so.
So she's a great resource. She is a travel or a CPA turned travel advisor. And so she does a lot with finances and has a lot of resources for advisors. So we'll also link to, I think we did we'll link to our website that has some free financial resources for advisors, things like that.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so let's get into number 2 from Robin B. Great question here. Why are host agencies apprehensive about advisors getting access to the GDS system? And that's the global distribution system for those that aren't aware. We'll link, it's difficult to explain, but we'll link to an article that explains what it is and gives you a visual in the comments in the show notes. So then Robin asks, they say it takes years to master the GDS, and with some hosts, you have to have 2 or more years of experience to qualify in order to have access to the GDS. So I have used Sabre, and Sabre is one of the GDSs that are out there. I've used Sabre for years, and it only took a few months to learn. And with Sabre Red 360, it seems even easier than ever. I have to explain a lot of things in this. So Sabre Red 360 is like the friendly version, the point and click version that isn't computer programming. So then Robin says, I'm re-entering the travel industry and I have a corporate background and I will be temporarily booking air only until I learn leisure efficiently. And using Sabre would be so much easier than using a CRM. All I would need is a refresher in Sabre. Please help. So, okay,
such a great question.
Yeah, and
such a
Nexion used to be owned by Sabre. So you guys have deep roots in the GDS. So tell us your thoughts.
We do. So it's such a great question, Robin. And as somebody who also previously used and taught several different GDS systems, again, those acronyms turned into, we say them really fast so they sound like words. So thank you for explaining it. I would definitely agree that it can be mastered with frequent and repetitive use in about 6 months. So frequent and repetitive kind of being the key. What's complex is learning the fare rules for each of the airlines, the cities, the IATA locations, fare basis codes. IATA has some very, very complex rules that can, when broken and if broken, can be quite costly. So when an error is made, the financial risk, which can be in the hundreds and thousands, and I have actually seen debit memos in the tens of thousands, that risk is huge and can be quite devastating to a small independent travel agency. So why are host agencies so hesitant to give access? I think that kind of explains it. The debit memo, which is basically a bill for your mistake. You make an error and let's say the bill is $10,000. The airline at some point after the ticket's been issued and oftentimes after the traveler has already traveled, will send this debit memo to the agency. So technically the agent who issued the ticket would be responsible. However, the host agency is the one who actually has the contract with the airline. So we would as a host agency, go to you, Robin, and say, you got a debit memo on this ticket that you issued, is $10,000, and we need you to either fix it or pay it. That's putting a lot of trust into Robin to pay that $10,000. And ultimately, the responsibility is the agencies, because that's where the relationship falls. So as you can understand, a host agency is going to be pretty reluctant to give somebody, especially new to their agency, the ability to book and issue tickets directly through the GDS with the airlines. So with that said, let's move on to the please help part. It doesn't mean, like, for example, with Nexion, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to use the GDS. If your host agency offers it, there's going to be a skill set you're going to have to prove, and that knowledge base that you're going to have to show us that you have before we're going to grant you access to it. There aren't a lot of host agencies that even offer this. So that's definitely something to consider when you're looking for a place to land, is who does. If you have background as a corporate advisor who's worked in Sabre, you're probably going to get that access pretty quickly. So I don't know if I expanded on that enough. Have you got more to add?
No, that's really great, because I always tell people, if they've had experience and they did it for years, it's not going to take them that much to get up to speed, because they know to look at the airline rules and the regulations. The problem is for the new people that don't know that this stuff even exists. And like Heather said, they'll give you the debit memos, and we'll link to an article with more info on what a debit memo is, but they'll give you that debit memo 3 months after the person travels, or a year after. And the problem is, you've been doing it wrong for a year then. And so you may not just have that one debit memo coming down the pipeline. You may have more. So that's one of the challenging things, and why you find hosts not wanting people in there. It's to protect everybody. And let me show you, because you also asked, Robin, let's see, we mentioned not all hosts have them. So if we go to our host agency list on the site, what you'll be able to do is, within the filters, you'll be able to search for someone. If you wanted to do Sabre, Robin, you can search Sabre, and that'll pull up all the host agencies that offer Sabre. So that can narrow it down for you. And I'm going to also link to an article that, if you're looking to go into corporate travel, it can be really challenging to go into it as a brand new advisor, as an independent contractor. Going through an employee route is the best way to learn corporate, because like Heather said, it's that repetition. If you're only booking a ticket every 2 weeks, you're never going to learn the GDS system. So
what I do want to talk about, though, is the importance of booking air for your clients. So whether or not you're using a GDS or you're using another platform. So Nexion, for example, has the option of GDS, but they also have a booking tool that sits on top of Sabre, a little bit like that Sabre Red that Robin mentioned, where it's a point and click. And we're live. And so that option is another route to go. So if your agency has a booking tool, like, for example, the way that Nexion uses it is, you book on a point and click over Sabre, and then we actually have a ticketing team that reviews your reservation and issues that ticket on your behalf. If you have to do a ticket exchange, which is really where the majority of debit memos probably come from, is people either forcing a fare in the GDS or doing a ticket exchange and breaking a rule. The ticketing team, will verify that you're not breaking any rules. They're going to verify that the price is right, but they're also going to see if there's commission to be paid, because a booking error is great, but it's really only matters to you if it's also including a commission, which, as most of us know who've been in the industry a while, not all fares and not all airlines will pay commission, but some do. And it can be quite lucrative. But the idea of adding air to your booking, when you do grow into that leisure business, you want to be the end to end. You want to be booking their air and their cruise and their insurance and because you want to be their full service. You don't want to say, oh, I'll book your cruise, but go on, airline.com to book your flight. And good luck with that if something goes wrong. And I think that's the important factor too, is including error in the booking process, including error in some format.
Yeah.
Looking for an agency that can do that.
And I think in our GDS article, or no, it's in our Becoming a Corporate Travel Agent article that we'll link to. It also talks about the different areas where you can book air, because people think that you can't actually book air if you're not in the GDS system, and that's not the way it works. So that'll clarify it for you if you're curious. And then we have one quick question that's from Anonymous saying, do you have a list of host agencies that have GDS access? And yes, we do. Same thing, go to the site, go to the host agency profiles. Under the more filters, select the GDS, and it'll narrow it down for you. So super easy on that one. And last question, dun, dun, dun. Anonymous again. Okay, so has anyone purchased an additional training course beyond HARs? And they're talking, I think, about our 7-day setup accelerator course. So HAR has been great for me getting started. I would be lost without it. However, now after being in business for almost 6 months, I want to learn more, especially about marketing and growing the business. I want something that offers some certification along with mentorship. And in my research, I have found a wide range of costs, and that is so true.
Yeah.
Huge range. So do you have any advice picking a program to leap to next, or any programs that you've loved and that you have found helpful? Well, we have the perfect guest on here for you today because Heather's specialty is education. So Heather, take it away.
You know, it's interesting when you read that question to me out loud, and I know I saw the question before, but it really, I really started to go down a different rabbit hole just now when you said that, because I realized I've noticed in the past couple of years that a lot of marketing companies are coming out of the woodwork where they're experts in travel agency marketing. And I get it on my Facebook feed. I get sponsored ads all the time. And there's a lot of expertise out there, and they're willing to teach you to be a marketing guru for the small price of $5,000 or $10,000. And I'm going to be pretty honest. I think that's a lot of money to invest when your agency isn't making money yet. And so I would say do your research when you go out into the market looking for a marketing coach for the travel industry or marketing firm. Some of them are excellent and they do have great results and great returns, but it's a lot of money. And anytime that you're willing to invest in something, plan on having a return. So if somebody's charging $10,000 for their marketing program, if you make $10,000, that's still zero return. So I would definitely be careful. If you're brand new, like 6 months in, you're still pretty new. I mean, Travel Leaders of Tomorrow has been around since 2013, and that is purely designed for new to the industry. It is agnostic. It can be for anyone. And I do think for somebody that's brand new, that's a great foundation. Now, for Anonymous, she or he may be past that and really wanting to get into marketing. So in that case, do your research on HAR, host agency reviews, find a host agencies that have training programs in those specific pieces, because why not get it as part of your host agency package? So you're already typically paying something to join a host agency. Does that host agency have marketing programs? Does that agency have events that specialize in teaching you how to do marketing or social media, or even business planning on all of sort of niche things? I know at Nexion Travel Group, we have niche training in person and virtual, and of course on demand. But the idea of spending, say, 3 days together with marketing experts and coming away with content that you can actually apply and use, kind of a cool concept. So looking at an agency that can support you within the agency rather than maybe going out, and maybe I'll get some shade for this, but maybe not going out to a third party and spending thousands of dollars at the beginning when you don't even know if you have a clientele yet.
That's great advice. I think for most of us, $5,000 is a lot of money. If you are a trust fund baby or independently wealthy, like $5,000 is like, oh, whatever. But for most of us, that's going to be a big investment. And so, what I tell people is, depending on what your situation is, if you're independently wealthy, go for it. But the host agency is a great place to start. And I know with Nexion, like I was talking to someone that was in our accelerator program that went to a Nexion, I think it was a groups training that was like in Cancun or something, and talked about marketing. And she said it was just revolutionary for her, and kind of brought things together. So the first place, I'm with Heather, check with your host agency. If you're researching host agencies still, on a host agency profile, if you click on their name, there's a question and answer tab.
You clicked on the wrong one.
Oh, sorry.
Just kidding.
We went with the A's. Usually I do try to do it, but
I need to rename.
You do. Here,
we're on Nexion.
We're restarting here. We're restarting. We're going to Nexion's profile. Here's the Q&A tab. And then you can just ask her, ask a question and say, hey, what do you have in terms of marketing programs? The other place you can check is our events calendar. And that's a great place where you can, the topics, there's one that says marketing, and that will pop up everything that meets the marketing thing. So that's another great place to go. I've always been, you know, a lot of small businesses, we're thrifty and we're cobbling things together left and right. And there's a lot of ways you can do it less expensive. Because I know there's things like Careers on Vacations is one that pops up often. And I think theirs is like $10,000 or $15,000, which is a serious investment. And they have tons of accolades about advisors that have made the money back and things. But do your research. If that's going to be a, you know, something that if it doesn't work out is going to put you in debt, you might want to look at another route, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. 100%. And I love that resource of the events on there. So you can kind of see what people do have coming down the pipeline.
Yeah. Right. And the cool thing too is like, say for Nexion, when they have their groups training, when they have their boot camps, if they're on the calendar, it actually pulls on their profile. And so you'll be able to see all the upcoming events that Nexion has going on, which can also give you a feel for the type of infrastructure they have outside of just marketing. So a couple tips for you all there. Yeah. Well, we are going to wrap things up. So Heather, we're going to link to Nexion's profile on HAR where people can learn more about the company. Is there another place people should be reaching out or checking things out?
Well, definitely Nexion.com, our website. If you're in Canada, we do have Join Nexion Canada. So I would definitely check those out for some good information. Those are purely out there with information for people that are new or joining a host agency. Thanks.
Perfect. Yeah. And we're going to link to Nexion Canada's profile too, for those of you that are north of the border. And coming up on future Friday 15s, we have next week. Is that right? Is that the 27th next week? Wow. Okay. Already at the end of September, September 27th, we have Travel Edge on. October 4th, Levarte Travel will be joining us. And October 11th is Pickles Travel Network. These are all host agencies. So if you have any specific questions for these hosts, you can feel free to submit them. And that's the same place where you can ask just your general industry questions to us. And that's hostagencyreviews.com/Friday15, which we will link to. So Heather, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. You have such a great group of people asking wonderful questions. I'm happy to be here.
These were some great questions this week. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Heather, for joining us.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.